All right, what's up, everyone? This is Z from Code One Maintenance, and you know, my mission is to ensure that I help out veterans going from the service to civilian life, and it doesn't just start when you about to separate, retire, whatever the case may be, right? It happens years before, and that's the message I want to start providing to you is that don't wait till you're 6 months out, 1 year out. I get it. You got a lot of things going on in your life, but we always find time to do other things, right? You find time to go on a picnic with your girlfriend. You find time. Who does that still? My girlfriend told me that the other day, and I was like, people still go on picnics, but I guess they do. And but I want you to start. Um, what's it called? Start your transition from the moment that you have a chance. So once the day that you start, hey, why am I just out of it today? But see, this is the points where you would cut it, restart. But I wanted to do this live. But anyways, the moment that you stop upgrading, not really stop, but you get done with those exams, start adding on, your A&P. Start adding on your degrees. Start developing skills where you work at. Try to position yourself to develop these skills, right? So many of you want to be great mechanics. You do that on the flight line, and so what I want to do is prepare you, start growing the awareness to better prepare you for success. Because unfortunately, nobody's going to stay in until they're 65 years old or 70 years old, right? This is going to be something that you eventually have to transition out, and it faces everybody. So that's where I want to help. I want to help thousands of aircraft mechanics like myself transition. And today I'm going to talk about some some tips on how to write a resume. And because I when I speak to recruiters, that's one of the biggest things that they discuss is, man, they'll write me a freaking story. I have a novel, and I did it again. I gave somebody a resume, and it was a novel. I thought it wasn't just like, I think it was like two pages, but it was just filled with blob of words. So I knew that already, and this person that I thought was detail oriented did not want to see that either. So I went back, gave him a few questions, very, handful of questions that I know that they're going to want to look at, especially skills and yes, just skills that pertains to a specific aircraft. So if I say, hey, I'm hiring you to lead the F-22 program. Give me a resume, give me something to tell me that I should hire you, right? So what recruiters are looking for, especially in the beginning, is skills that you have that pertains only to F-22. I don't care that you have A-10 experience. I don't care about that you have experience in F-16s. They just want F-22 experience, and that's it. That's all they want to hear about, especially in the beginning. Okay, maybe when you interview and stuff like that, you can talk about other things other experiences you've had. But I would stick to just F-22 experience. So you're gonna go and look at Southwest Airlines, for example. They want to know what type of big body air, and don't get scared because you don't have any big body experience. When I mean big body planes like Boeing's, big Airbus, planes. If you don't have it, it's okay. They're looking at your schedule for a reason, or looking at your resume for a reason. But I'm just trying to get the point across is that only that is pertaining to um, the Boeing side. If it's a light maintenance, if you're a crew chief on the line, you know what that is, right? Inspections, intake and exhaust inspections. pre-flights, post-flights, BPOs, um, all those. I think they were BPOs and post-flight were the same thing. But anyways, post-flight inspections, uh, exhaust inspections, sampling. Like these are the things you do, right? So this is just some of the tips that's gonna help you when you write this resume. Try to make it one page, and if it's gonna be a second page or there's gonna be 2 pages, make it a cover page real quick. Make it look nice if you want to. But the meat and potatoes, that's what they want. They want meat and potatoes. And number one thing is that's something that I do a lot of research on, and I don't see that very often. I don't see where they want one page. And a lot of these guys, that's one thing you won't see in the research because I try to research it, but they say resume, this is what we want. But they don't say, hey, we want a concise one pager. That's it. Because you got to think about it. These guys got to look at several. I know when I was hiring somebody to go to through 3 pages, like, no. Like one page, man. Try to make it one page. You got this position. Give me one page of solid, points that you did with this position because this is the position we're looking for. And how do you know what they're looking for? You go to a job post and you can see they give you the responsibilities you're going to be doing. It's like, yep, I know how to do inspection. Yep, I know how to change a tire. Yep, I have experience in oil sampling. Yep, I've removed a wing. I've jacked an aircraft. I've done whatever the case may be. Yeah, if they're looking for this position, you you then almost basically I'm not saying to do this, but you basically reward it into what you've done and to that position, right? So I'm gonna talk about the tools, how to like what what's part of that meat and potatoes you're looking for, right? So I just gave you what are they looking for? That's a big meat. What's that potato that can really make come bring it together, right? So a meat is just if you got a ribeye, you got all the meat. Sometimes you got a little bit of fat here, but so try to minimize as much fat off that resume as you can. Get rid of the fluff, get rid of the thing, make it concise, very easy, kind of like how Trump does it. How he communicates is very simple, very repetitive, but it's the best way to communicate and to communicate his message. Right? Some of you don't like him, but this is the things that I learned as I listen to him. Why does it say like that? Why does he do it this way? He wants to appeal to everybody. He's not saying that you're dumb. It's just he's trying to communicate for everybody, right? So, and that's what you want to do. You want to communicate because you'll be surprised how many recruiters are not that do not have aviation background. Maybe they've never really turned a wrench before. They wouldn't understand your they wouldn't understand your terminologies. They want to. So that's another thing. You don't understand civilian aviation terminology. So that I'll talk about things like that. Okay. So I wrote some notes down. This time I was a little more organized. Um, so number one pointer is translate your military experience. Work on this resume a little bit. A lot of companies don't understand crew chief, and so you got to word that differently. And they understand aircraft maintenance technician, okay, or line mechanic. Line mechanic is like your flight line, crew chief. So those are the differences. And there's, I checked the one, I would say the one place that I actually like the military translator is there's one for military.com, but it was no good. Maybe for avionics, but it wasn't good for regular mechanic, like a crew chief, right? So I wouldn't go there for that one. Uh, but you know what's an awesome site? Basically, this is like the ultimate site. It's called ONET, ONET. Like that thing had translator, what's an average. Like that thing had everything and it was pretty simple. You just put in your MOS, your FSC, whatever the case may be, NES. I'm not sure if Navy still use that, but it helped you. It can help you out a lot. So that's a great tool, and don't be afraid to go to some of these transition offices. What I'm gonna start doing is, if you're not gonna go to a that office, I'm gonna go to them, talk to them about just talk to them about how, what did they see from aircraft mechanics, and I'll bring it to you so that way you can sit, listen to you when you're driving, and not having to go. So that's on my checklist things to do for starting next week. Bringing on some recruiters, talent acquisition guys, director of maintenance, some owners of some of these repair shops. I'm looking for a certain size so that way it's easier, to get access to them. And I feel like the guys who are like regional airlines, like their CEO is not far from them. They're very close, so they get to pick their brain compared to somebody like, just a big aircraft, one of the major airlines, right? The Delta airline guy, he's probably not going to be nowhere near an office to a recruiter. I'm sure that they're pretty far apart from each other. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it's kind of cool to pick their brain, what the business, because I like the business side of things, and I like to understand why certain things are the way they are at an airport, for example. So the whole, learning those type of things are pretty cool. Like even how a grocery store is structured, right? They're placed certain height, certain products are a certain, eye level. Meat products are in the very back. All the middle stuff is processed food. I mean, I've never heard any updates on that, but I always thought that that was pretty cool. How everything's structured. It's structured for a reason, right? So the airport is all structured a certain way for a good reason. I thought I had some coffee here, but I guess I don't. Okay, so go on ONET, talk to transition offices to help you with the translation of, and I'm still looking up. And once I find this translator, what I'm going to do is provide a PDF for this jargon from crew chief to line maintenance mechanic, right, or aviation maintenance technician. And if you know somebody that has that, let me know. I'm going to print it out or provide a PDF for the people in my community. All right, so that's what I want to do is go from A&P, getting ready for transition, and it's all going to be online for free. Okay. Let's see what else. Instead of technical orders, because people, these guys are not going to understand what that is. They're going to give this to the director of maintenance, and maybe and the director of maintenance is Air Force. But if he's not, then use something like OEM, right? Just like in a car, OEM, the manufacturer manual, maintenance procedures, and stuff like that. Okay. Let's see. Number two, highlight the civilian equivalents, preventive maintenance, troubleshooting and repairs, safety compliance, and risk management. So they're gonna know that you can operate with safety, you can be efficient, you're looking for preventive maintenance, and you can troubleshoot and repair stuff. So that's super important, and you have to translate that as well into using the correct words for the civilian guys. And a lot of recruiters, like I said, a lot of the recruiters I met have no clue about some of this military jargon. And you know what's funny? I have no clue. I'll tell you a funny story. We talk about military jargon. Code One maintenance. Code One, I thought it was used across all aviation. I thought it was just something that it was a status landing code for all aircraft, right? Code One. It makes sense, that it's like a blanket statement, but it's not. It's not even the norm in the heavy world. I think they use Alpha One, from what I understand. So they use a whole different types of jargon over there in lingo. So I made that mistake, and now Code One is just for the fighter world, I guess. So that jargon, they're not going to understand it in other branches, and they're not going to understand it definitely in the civilian world. So something to keep in mind is when you write stuff in your resume. That piece of document is super important. It talks about yourself, your skills that you provide, and how you can help the team. So just keep that in mind. All right. So let's see. Showcase your A&P. If you have your A&P, put that on there that you have your A&P. And if you're trying to work, for example, Southwest, some of the major airlines, they require, a lot of them require a large majority of their mechanics to have their A&P. And if you don't, just put it, it's in progress. And I hope that you are pursuing it because that's going to be the most important certification in aviation maintenance is that A&P. So let's see. And I'm, cracking the books open again, going through this material. But I'm not going through the study guides. I'm going through the source from the FAA. So it's very interesting, brushing up my memory on that stuff, and very interesting to be honest. So, it's always how you read a book over and over and over, like you're finding new things, you're going over new things. I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. Now that makes sense. So one of the things I got to tackle in this power plant book is the intake stroke, all degrees. I'm trying to make sense of that. So, anyways, I'm probably gonna have to get a mentor for that one. So, ANP license, put that in there, and if you don't have it, highlight it saying you're in the progress for it. Okay. Let's see. Quantify your experience. Okay, quantify your experience. So for example, you've completed over 500, BPOs, with zero discrepancies, right? Some of you might have more than that, but some of you young guys, that's all you do, right? During day shift is you inspect, aircraft all day. So, put that on there, quantify it, right? If you serviced 12 aircraft, with fuel, put that in there, right? And do you return their service or you had them ready 99% of the time? So adding those numbers is going to help you kind of like solidify, the work you've done. They have a gauge of, okay, you do have experience, right? So let's see, discussing airline, the airlines, they want guys who can get things done fast, but also safety. We like to joke around that you can't have both, but when it's corporate stuff and timing matters, you got to learn how to do that, right? How to get things done fast and safely and accurately, correctly, right? So, sometimes you don't have to do all this yourself. Get a team together to help you out, change that tire. Learn, show them your leadership skills that you can collaborate in these type of environments. You can help a hand. They always say, who can volunteer for this, right? If you already have the attitude to raise your hand first, highlight that too, right? And talked about safety. You always have to book. It's been ingrained into you to have the book on and the PPE, like have all that mindset, right? Um, let's see. Oh yeah, and I know a lot of technicians who had to go from A10s to F16s, F16s to A10s, or F16s to C17, or C130s. So those things happen, or C5s to C130s. How do you adapt? How do you learn? How did you learn? So those are gonna be some of the questions they might ask, but in your resume, just briefly going over that if it, especially for that type of skills, right? So prepare your okay. So one of the common things, even I use it for my interviews, is like I want to know how somebody will react in a situation, right? So one of my things is like, all right, if you have a disruptive student in class, how would you handle it, right? So same thing when I think they call it the STAR method. I don't know the acronym to it, but they're going to ask you questions about your actions and stuff like that. So really quick, you know, um, tell me about a time you troubleshoot under pressure, right? Red ball. That's what they said in the Air Force. Like between goes, how do you handle it? How do you handle safety over the mission, right? It's like You put the safety of the people first, instead of trying to get push this aircraft in unsafe methods, right? You got to make those judgment calls, right? Because some supervisors be under stress, like, hey, we need this turned, we need this, turnaround, we need this get going now. But when you see something that's leaking, way more than over the limits, like it's pouring out of there, how are you going to handle that confrontation? Because these guys are under pressure, they've been, jammed by their supervision to get stuff done. And how do you handle that confrontation? You stand up, and sometimes, you almost gonna get into a fight. It's like you take that book with you. It's like, this is not getting signed. You put that X in there, and you take that book with you, so they don't fly that aircraft because it's clearly way past over limits. So you got to talk about that. The stress. You got pressure from all sides, and they want to know how you handle it. So, and then let's see, um, how you handle stress under some of these circumstances. Not just like that type of stuff, like getting things done, cleaning up, pilots coming, uh, this plane is getting ready. Can you clean up? Can you do all your documents? Can you go through the checklist? Do you inspect the aircraft before you get done? Because some people just like to rush and they forget a checklist. Maybe they don't have it in front of them, but as you're getting ready to, get people getting starting up before you start engines up, is it how do you operate, right? Like I usually have a checklist, you know, and I don't just check the work that I've done. You got to check the whole plane, make sure that everybody did their job too, because I'm responsible for that aircraft. And when my name's on it, I'm not just checking the job that I just worked on. I'm checking everybody's work that possibly worked on that day. You forget things, right? Because who's going to be the person they're going to look at if avionics didn't close their panel? They're going to look at you. Why didn't you check? It's just so much responsibility on us. And they want to know if you can handle that. Because that is a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of pressure. And if it's nothing to you, it's like, hey, that's just part of the job. That's what you got to do. Make sure everybody's safe. So, be prepared for the questions. Maybe have a little list of, these type of things. Look up STAR method. You know, things that you're under pressure. How do you handle, confrontations? How do you handle, how do you do with troubleshooting? How do you do troubleshooting? So having those ready, and especially the resume, keep it concise, keep it short, you know, meat and potatoes, keep it simple. Some people say stupid, but I'm a big believer in that. And so these guys got to understand, these recruiters got to go through a lot of paperwork, and they're trying to find their golden boy. So hopefully that was helpful. Like, subscribe, and that's it for this weekend or for today. Thank you.